In a world filled with negativity, there shines a beacon of hope. Welcome to Spanning the Need, your source for uplifting stories from the Mahoning Valley. We believe in inspiring the uninspired. Join us in spreading joy one story at a time. Submit your good news today. Spanning the Need, inspiring the uninspired.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to an episode of Spanning the Need. We're now talking with mayors across the area on what's going on, what's really going on with the cities of a variety of Hubbard, and we talk about the city of Warren, and we'll talk about the city of Youngstown, and a variety of them down the road. But today, we have a good friend of mine, been a long time, the mayor of the city of Hubbard, Ben Kyle. Mayor, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. It's a great honor.
Oh, well, it's an honor to catch up with you. It's been a very long time, and pandemic, I think, really put everyone
through a little wrench in things.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how you became mayor. You've just become newly mayor a couple years, 3 or 4 years, just to become the new mayor. What made you get into, as I like to say, politics?
Well, I was a long-term standing councilman. I started in the first ward here in the city and then moved to an at-large position. So then I represented the whole entire city. And I really enjoyed being able to just do my part and give back a little bit as a local business owner and somebody that's been a part of the community my whole entire life. I always wanted to make sure that the city was going in the right direction, and whatever small part that I can do to keep it going in that direction is really what my ultimate goal was. And, living here, raising a family here, it's something that I'm just very passionate about, and making sure that we are doing the best that we can for not only for the community, but for long-term growth and sustainability.
And we talk about the growth of Hubbard and a variety of different, you're kind of located against Pennsylvania. You kind of look at it as like the middle ground of, hey, come to the city of Hubbard. We are here. We have nestling of agricultural and a variety of city living. So like that small town feeling. Talk a little bit about what made you go to Hubbard and what you moved to Hubbard, because everyone has a story how they got there.
Yeah, it's I have a unique story in the sense that where it spans multiple generations of my family. So back in the 40s, my family lived north of Vienna, and they had a horse farm, and they actually owned the hardware store in Vienna. And eventually my great-grandfather wanted to change professions, and he ended up purchasing our funeral home, Stuart Kyle Funeral Home, from the last widow of the Stewart family that had it since 1850. So we then, as a family per se, my great-grandfather and my grandfather, they moved to Hubbard in the 40s, and they really were attracted to this small town, this feeling of being a part of a community, and obviously serving a community as a funeral home is a very unique thing in and of itself, where you are completely connected to a community. Mm-hmm. So we've been here ever since. My family, my wife and kids and I built a house here in Hubbard. So we made that long-term commitment as well over about a decade ago. And, my parents and my uncle and then my grandparents, the whole family has been here for many generations, serving the public and also just giving back as much as we can as well.
And we kind of look at that you built a house in Hubbard. What really makes it special for you and your family? I know you talked a little bit about how you got there, but what makes it unique and special for you that people don't understand, that people don't live in the city, but maybe want the opportunity to come and move there?
I think one of the most unique things about Hubbard, and when we say Hubbard, a lot of times people roll either city and township together, or they just think of it all as one. And there's two separate forms of government. So we have our city and then the township. The city is located inside, if you will, the box that is a big rectangle that is the township, and where we are in Trumbull County, we're up against the state of Pennsylvania, and we also border Mahoning County. It's a very unique place that you have all these different influences, but at the end of the day, it's a bedroom community in the sense that everybody knows their neighbor. They look out for their neighbor. They shop at some of the local stores together. They eat at the restaurants. We have a very large church community here in Hubbard where there's just a big sense of belonging, and this, I like to say, everybody knows everybody, and it's in a good way.
It's like Cheers. Everyone knows your name.
That's right. That's right. And they really care about each other. You know, if they see somebody in need or they have an issue, they know that we're going to work to fix it.
Well, and you look at, and let's talk a little bit about that fixing part is, over the years, I mean, City of Hubbard's been the city for almost a couple hundred years. No, let me take that back. Over about 150 years or more. I mean, late 1800s, 1880, 1870 is kind of when it was kind of the City of Hubbard. And we look at that as aging infrastructure, aging projects. What are some of the initiatives and projects that you guys are kind of undertaking that will improve some of the quality of life in that area for your residents?
We've made ever since I took office, and I affectionately call myself a pandemic mayor. I took office 1/1 of 2020. So as soon as we got a real
not much honeymoon
of things, the wheels fell off, and we had to rewrite the playbook. That, you know, obviously we're still here, and I'm just entering my second term. So it's a great feeling, but it was all rooted in this constant effort of improving the infrastructure and making those worthwhile investments that were going to not only serve the public in the current form, but also generations to come. Where, you know, sure, everybody can go out and pave a road, but are they strategically paving those roads where we have trying to improve lasting impact and do it based on a lot of engineers' estimates, not just, hey, we're going to go pave that road, or, oh, we might need to fix that, where we're trying to strategically improve a lot of different things. And the City of Hubbard's very unique. There's a couple communities in Trumbull and Mahoning County that are similar to us in the sense that we have our own water department, we have our own street department, we have our own wastewater plant, and we have our own electric department. So we are fully functioning and self-sustaining in that sense, where it sounds like, oh, sure, that's kind of commonplace. Well, it's really not. So we are constantly looking to make those improvements and get recognized by the state as well. A couple years ago, the governor's office worked to create a lead service line program, and it's called H2O Ohio. And the City of Hubbard was one of the first to receive money to replace lead service lines that were on private citizens' property and also in the public water system, the connections. And it all spawned from the major incidents that have been happening all across the country, in Flint, Michigan, and so on and so forth. So we were one of the first, literally the first round of funding that was approved through the governor's office in the state. And we also piggyback that with a grant that was received in a second round for the mapping of our water system. So identifying these older lines that, you know, when I grew up in a house that was built in 1908. So
yeah, a lot of course, I mean, I lived in a house in Youngstown. Yep.
Exactly. You're going to have this aged infrastructure that money was never on a state level pushed to make those improvements. It was always set on the local level where, well, you guys need to go and do that. Well, sometimes if you look at actual budgetary process and the cost of doing certain things, it's well beyond what smaller communities can take on as far as a major infrastructure project. And it's something that we're now rolling into another phase where we have a construction project that's going to start a full water line replacement on 2 streets that have had dozens of breaks over decades. And we got part of our ARP money that we received is going to fund that, and then also utilizing the Ohio EPA and some additional funds to replace 2 water lines on 2 streets that literally from start to finish. It's a major undertaking for a community our size to be able to go out and do that, because the self-sustaining nature of what a community is, and there's only so much money, and you have to be able to leverage that to make those infrastructure improvements.
And we know that money is always an issue, no matter if you're a city, a township, or just the state of Ohio. And how do you make those efforts to take that money, like you talk about infrastructure? How do you help support local business, kind of stimulate the economy? Is there anything out there that helps local businesses in the city of Hubbard?
I think that, one of the bigger things that we've seen is just having a reliable community, and the sense that we have a solid group of people that are providing excellent safety services, our utilities are reliable, and we're able to make sure that if there is a problem, people are able to get a result, get action to be done, where there's other communities that could be out there that they might have roadblocks in getting a project done. Yes, we are a landlocked community in the sense that the township surrounds us, but over time we've worked with the township and created one of the state's first JEDs, which works alongside a city and a township, and who provides the utilities and where some of the tax dollars go, where you are working jointly for a project. And we have that right along the Interstate 80 corridor, and we're always looking for expansion there and being able to provide. Every day you hear about different economic projects that are happening, and some of them just aren't realistic for a community of our size, where the amount of utilities that they would require, either the electric or the water, just the amount that they need, it's unrealistic. But for say the city of Warren, and they have some empty land and it's being redeveloped, or with Youngstown, those are all projects that, in my mind, I firmly believe that will have a positive impact on a community like ours, where if there's a redevelopment in Youngstown and Warren, and you get a few bigger companies that are going to come in and hire, they might want to live in a community like ours. And the real estate, if a house goes up for sale in the city of Hubbard, it seems like it is a very quick transition into someone else being the owner of that
within
house.
Like a week.
Yeah. And I think that's a testament not only to the city and to the stability that we have, but also our school system and our safety forces. So I think all that goes hand in hand to make life, that quality of life, something real for people.
Well, and let's talk about that. And that probably one of the big things, that no matter where anyone moves, they look at that public safety. And we look at fire, health, medical, police force. And so how do you guys enhance public safety and kind of address concerns related to crime and community policing, just in general? Like, what does that look like for the city of Hubbard?
I think one of the nice things that we have here in the city is we have a police force that is very active in the community. And when I say that, they're visiting certain stores, they're going up to the school, they're going to stop in at a basketball game, they're going into the grocery store and talking to people and interacting with people, and it's all positive. And that impact does resonate throughout the community, where we might have somebody that's new to the area, and they're uncertain about certain things. And, as soon as they meet some of our officers or the fire department, or just part of the city workforce as well, we always come back to this constant that we have, and that is always looking forward, always making sure that our community is safe, and being able to try and pull, new officers to our police department. As the workforce changes over, it's been very difficult. We have had officers that have had decades of experience, and it's time to retire. They want to go and enjoy life outside of the police department. And we've had a large changeover in our police department, and I'm very thankful for our police chief and our safety director and those people making the decisions, because we have been able to bring in a great younger group of officers here for the city that I think is really important, where we have both men and women out there talking with people and interacting with the public, and being able not only to keep them safe, but also to really relate to them for some of their issues.
Have you guys had, like, we know that across the United States there's a shortage in police officers. Have you guys found that to be hard to hire, or is that something that you guys have really promoted to say, hey, we're here to help?
We've tried a lot of different ways, working alongside our local news channel, the police academies, the Youngstown State and Kent State, and really tried to open everybody's eyes that we were hiring and what a great police department that we do have. Absolutely, it's impacted us. We've done a number of different tests, where the civil service test to become a police officer, and we've done them where we're trying to hire one person, and years ago you'd get, say, 12 to 24 people apply for that position. About
a decade ago, you'd get that massive bump.
You would get
massive
that,
rush of 30 people or 15 for one.
Right. Now we're really excited when we get 4 to 5 apply, that you hope that somewhere out there you find the right mix of people, and we've been very lucky. As hard as it has been to hire, we've been very lucky with the decisions that we've made in the last few years.
And we talk a little bit about challenges at your size. You're roughly between 7 and 85,000 people, 100 for the city of Hubbard. What are some of the challenges that occurs that comes with that, with the city? Because a variety of, no matter what city or township, you always have challenges.
Absolutely. So, you always have a influx of different people moving in and out of the community. And one of the things that we always try to do is to make sure people know who to call when they have an issue. And sometimes it gets a little, lost in translation, in the sense that you might miss somebody, but we try to keep that constant flow of information. And we multitask to do that. So it could be myself, it could be my assistant, it could be our service superintendent, it could be anybody and everybody, where we're pushing out the information. A community like ours, you don't have a specific job title for each thing that everybody does. Everybody's all on board, all hands on deck, trying to make those things a reality. One of the real simple equations that when I talk to people and we have these discussions about smaller size cities, when the federal government first implemented the CARES Act, which then followed up with the Build Better America and the ARPA money that was allocated, we first were originally getting $1.5 million for our city. Then that got slashed in half to $775,000 when the state legislature got involved, and they made some adjustments where not every community was getting something, whatever it might have been.
Right.
Some townships weren't even included, and then they kind of went back and fixed some of their errors. Well, we were one of the ones that were hit the hardest, because we had $1.5 million. And originally it was for broadband, it was for water and wastewater infrastructure improvements. When I first found those pieces of information, I was ecstatic, because I knew that we'd be able to do a water project and a wastewater project for sure. Well, then the money got cut. To no fault of ours or to any other community, we then got down to $775,000, which for this water line replacement project right now, that's half. That's a down payment.
Pretty much.
In the sense of what we're doing. When you compare that with what the city of Youngstown, what the city of Warren got, they received transformational amounts of money. that they're, working towards making that impact and doing those, worthwhile projects. And along with city council and myself, we made a concerted effort that with what money we have, we're going to make an investment in our community that's going to last for decades. And that's why we chose to push for a big water line replacement project that was constantly hindering the community. And, when you even talk about what the county did with some of their money, they did something that was so smart, where they took money and then funneled it into the Valley Economic Growth incubators and things like that, where they were organizations that would manage some of that money for those small businesses, where they could go and, the one right here on Belmont Avenue, where they received $1 million, and they were able to funnel that out into grants to small businesses, where somebody said, listen, I got kicked out of I couldn't pay the rent. I, had to transform everything. They were able to go there and get that assistance and be able to make those investments in their businesses. That it all stemmed from that federal aid that was divvied out across the country.
Well, we look at it like you said, you mentioned Youngstown, you mentioned Warren, and with those development plans, it's hard to really from that is just to understand, like, people don't maybe not understand the real process it goes through for projects. And you look at it as an overall picture that, hey, it's infrastructure, it's technology, it's pretty much affordable housing in the community. So if people don't realize that all affects, it's a domino effect to no matter what the issue is.
Absolutely. And one of the craziest things to me was this concept of broadband. And I know sometimes it gets lost in what the government's trying to do, or with Eastgate or some of these other larger organizations are trying to do. The amount of people that don't have reliable internet access is unbelievable when you look at Trumbull County is the 12th largest county in the state of Ohio out of 88. And, we have this large sized county, and there are portions that literally do not have internet capability, where the cell phone service doesn't work, or they don't have that connectivity. And as we saw, there was a few maps that came out and were generated, I think, through the state side of the government, that really showed how many people and places lack that connectivity. That, for us here in Hubbard, we were in the shade of color that everybody had that availability, or maybe farther reaches out in the township where, they might not have the as good of connection. But there were places in Warren and parts north that were completely unavailable. And I think that's a really positive project that Eastgate and a number of other organizations are really pushing, it's going to make a big impact on people, where economic growth, quality of life, they're going to go hand in hand right there together.
And we look at that as when that quality of life hits, people want to migrate to that area, no matter where it is. And especially Hubbard, what people may not realize is Hubbard has the quietness of activities as well as some good landmarks within Hubbard. Talk a little bit about like those hidden gems in the city of Hubbard, the area that you can look at to say, hey, this is what I got.
It's really interesting, the amount of people that we see come into our downtown. And a few decades ago, it went through a downtown revitalization project. And, we have a lot of small businesses and a lot of real quaint shops and mom and pop stores and businesses that operate. And they're able to operate because you have foot traffic from people that are just walking, in the community. And then also these larger events that are held. We have a group of people that have really pushed for these shop small events, where we have the brick and mortar events and also pop-ups. We have a city park called Tiley Park right in our downtown area, that we have a farmer's market during the summer. For months, people come and enjoy and are able to buy produce and then also the artisan items that people are making, and they come in from all across the area, and be able to do that. And part of that links not only our downtown, but also we have a number of other larger parks. One is called Harding Park, and it's a large park that's out towards the township, and there's acres and acres of different opportunities for people to do things outside. That there's ball fields there's volleyball, there's walking areas, there's different recreational activities, there's pavilions, all these different items. There's a bocce court that's there, and there's a bike path right on Route 616 here in the center area of the city that connects that. And we have Waugh Park and Matinette Park are two neighborhood parks that we've made significant infrastructure improvements where we were able to get grants in 22 and 23 to realize new investments in playground equipment. And you would think, oh, playground equipment, now that's a great idea. Well, the amount of money that it costs to purchase a piece of playground equipment is absolutely unheard of. So hundreds
and hundreds of thousands of dollars just the equipment, but you got to get people to install it. You got to level out the ground. It's just not let's buy the equipment. And we look at that because there's other projects. It's funny you talk about those types of projects where there are other groups like Walnut Grove and in Canfield. I mean, that was $1 million, $2 million project.
I couldn't imagine trying to take that on, and in this day and age where we recently were denied a grant application where we wanted to. It was through ODNR, and that's who does the Nature Works program, where we receive a lot of funding. City of Niles, City of Hubbard, we've both benefited recently from some of the state money that has come in, and I couldn't imagine trying to do that large of a scale. I tried to put a small, accessible piece of equipment where if somebody had some form of handicap or some form of inability to use a regular piece of playground equipment, we found a really nice piece of equipment that would be all inclusive, where anybody could use it. And unfortunately, we didn't get that funding from the state to get it. But who says we're going to go back again? We're going to go back in the batter's box. And
what's the worst they're going to say? No, you keep going back and you keep going.
Absolutely. And that's,
and we look at that. And we look at that as, sorry to interrupt, we look at that and it's like, hey, you guys are trying. It's not that you're not trying. You're filing these applications. They're just not, the funding's just not coming in.
There's an article in the paper today that mentions the 3 C's. And if you look at state funding and state development, Columbus, Cleveland, Cincinnati, the amount of money that truly gets eaten up by those metropolitan areas and then, go farther out, the amount of suburbs that then eats up the money that's available, so many times we're on the outside looking in. And I think that as we move forward and we take a more regional approach to some of this development, and I think we're pretty lucky right now where we have a great group of people in the Valley that are really trying to push things forward, that everybody is trying to get a seat at the table. And when I say that, some people just don't realize that, well, can't you just make an application and try to get that money? It doesn't. It takes years and years and years of putting every piece of the puzzle together to then be able to hand the state something that they can say, oh, wow, they have it together. They know what they're doing. This is a worthwhile project. We'll get on board with it because
and then they move it to 2026 or 2027.
I have a road paving project that started in 2021, and it's one of the only streets in the city that's called a federal aid route, where every community has different routes that are listed as a federal aid through Ohio Department of Transportation. So we've gone through all the different elements, and finally, in 2026, we're assuming it's going to be paved. So we were looking 7 years out, in a sense, when we first applied to say, you know what, we want to try to get that money. And it's so hard in this world of government funding and the aspects that we have to go through. We can't say, you know what, I think that would be a great project. Let's go make that happen. Unfortunately, there's a process, and that process to get a lot of the funding and the assistance, it takes time.
Right. And we look at that as time prevails. Well, time is time. We don't have enough time in a day or a week to do what we really want to do. And one thing that really looks out, we talked about what really people attract and kind of those hidden gems. And some of the things I found you got the Todd Mansion that's in there. You have a winery. You have the Todd Estate, which is part of that mansion, woodland cellars. You got golf courses. I mean, and then probably my favorite, Handles, and you also Handles, but you don't have a Handles. You have a Katie's Corner, which I still love.
Yeah, it's pretty neat when you have a lot of these small businesses where we have a cigar shop here in Hubbard that brings in people from all across the area, where it's a really great, unique place that people can come and gather and talk. And they have the winery right next door, Woodland Cellars, where they're able to get food brought across, and then Caddy Corner from that's even Webb's Ice Cream, another small little place. And then we have a generational candy shop, Madros Candy, where they've been making candy since, for decades and decades.
You're making me hungry, Ben. You're making me hungry.
We have Hubbard Music and multiple local flower shops, and all these different restaurants and places. We still have a furniture store, and it's pretty neat that you could park your car and walk up and down just a little area and be able to see and experience so many things, just as a small town you would expect it to, in the sense that
exactly
it's a warm feeling.
Well, and we finally what message do you have for the residents of the city, like as you move forward into the future? What kind of message would you have to the Mahoning Valley in this residents?
Right now, it's really a positive message that the city of Hubbard's open for business, and we're continuing to grow. We have a meeting coming up in the next few weeks about a housing development that had stalled a couple decades ago. That's right on a golf course, and it's right at Pine Lakes Golf Course, and we're hoping that it's going to get off the ground and really be able to make this availability to people outside of Hubbard, because we're landlocked. Hey, there's a new development. Well, it gets sold out, and then there's nothing available. Or people say, well, I don't really want to do a fixer upper house. I want to try to find something else, or it's a condo or villa for those residents that are up in years, and they're towards the end of their working life, or they're already retired, but they still want the feeling of being in a nice, safe community. We have some pretty exciting things that are on the horizon that are specifically tied with housing development, and it's nice to see, because Austintown Township, Howland Township, out in Canfield, or up in Cortland, or Bezetta Township, all these different places are all fighting for that same development. Well, where there's only so many new houses, or there's only so many developers, or there's only so many people that are looking for a certain sized house. And, I think that our community here, with the proximity of Interstate 80, with the proximity to Pennsylvania and 376, you have a majority of transportation options all right here within just a couple miles of each other. You could be to downtown Youngstown in less than 15 minutes. You could be to downtown Warren in about 30 minutes. And it really gives a lot of opportunities for people that maybe want to spread their wings, in the sense of having some more land. And I'll do a plug for the township as well. We have Hubbard Township, where sure, you can go, and if you want 30 acres and want to do a little farming, you can go right ahead and do it.
Ben will help you buy your stuff for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're always we're always looking to make those improvements that really bring, not only keep everybody that have their investment here in Hubbard, but also, when they talk about our community, they say, I really don't have anything that bad to say about the community, and they're trying really hard, and we're trying to make sure that we as a city, we operate fiscally responsibly, but also we're going after those bigger ticket items where we're trying to make those generational impacts and hopefully be able to, get a new park or make, those investments on playground equipment, or we're trying to bring in another bigger business that is here within the city that's going to help us with income tax generation, but also employment for our residents. Years ago, I would remember this. I had a neighbor, he walked to work for 30 some odd years. And that's what it was. He would walk to the manufacturing area of the city and he walked home. And, if in today's society, that's really not an option, but we do have some good opportunities on the horizon that I think, once you have Lordstown and you have Warren and you have Youngstown and some of the development for the Voltage Valley and some of these newer additions that we have coming, they might say, you know what, I really don't want my business to be right there in all that congestion. What's just a couple miles away? And that's us. And that's where we're forward thinking in a sense of new transportation options and infrastructure that could be a reality with Interstate 80. We have 34,000 trucks a day, semis, that pass over our connection here in Hubbard. And it's just when you sit and think about that, there's a lot of opportunity for businesses to get their product to market right here in the valley.
Transportation hubs.
Yep.
If you look at it that way, or FedExes or UPSs or any of those types of hubs that really need that space,
Absolutely.
That don't want to be congested, but still want to be within that region of area.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of our process to making sure that we're marketable, because I had a discussion a few months ago, a company wants to relocate one of their hubs closer to their Cleveland, Maine facility. And we had talked about it, and they came and looked at Hubbard, and they, might have a place in mind, but they just said, we like how if we brought some of our employees here, the feel and the absolute small town feel that comes with Hubbard, but also the fact that they could jump on 80 and they could be back to Cleveland in 60 minutes.
Yeah, pretty much. Mm-hmm. And that really kind of helps when it comes to attracting businesses, no matter if you're city and depending on where you're located. And I appreciate your time, Mayor. I know you've been busy, and I know Absolutely. It's been a busy week and everything like that. And let me throw some fun questions at you, which those weren't fun, but sometimes I'm told that these more questions are challenging, which I'm still trying to figure out how, but we'll go from there. So I'm just going to kind of rapid fire a couple questions. And like I said, it could be personal. The answer can be personal or business, Sure. Your call. So what's your best accomplishment?
Raising my kids.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Trust me. Right. I got a 2.5-year-old. Love it.
Yeah. I got 9 and 7, and it's an adventure every day.
I like that. You use the word adventure. Who's your role model?
I'd say my family. A little bit from everybody.
Okay. Last question. If there was one person you'd want to meet, past or present, who would it be and why? There's the question that makes him think.
That's a good question. I think there's a lot of people out there that you could look throughout time and history and different.
Maybe a couple. It's your call. It's your answer.
Absolutely. I think back to some of the founding times here in the United States and the Revolutionary War time, when people were taking that stand and I think you'd have to admire sitting down and having a beer with Sam Adams and George Washington and those founding fathers and Ben Franklin. I think that their words still resonate to today.
Not wrong with that. And yeah, it's like, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah.
Like, what were you really thinking?
Right.
So, Mayor, I appreciate you taking time.
Thank you for
I wish
having
you
me.
nothing but the best in the city of Hubbard as well. Stay on, everyone. We hope you had a great episode, just kind of understanding Hubbard, knowing what's there. If you want more information about Hubbard, or there's the mayor himself, you know where to find him. He's somewhere.
Yeah,
So
I'm everywhere.
Appreciate your time. Everyone, have a good night.